Greetings. So, this evening, we're just going to discuss some cult solutions, right? Other than merely astrology and trading one cult for another cult or a religion. Although the internet can be a place where you can easily get sucked down a rabbit hole, which is very like Jerry Springer back in the day, where it you can believe what you were watching, but actually you got sucked into it, and there's actually something to be said for that. There is actually a process of something that's happening there, which we won't go all the way into this evening. But there's a reason why watching other human beings suffering and their drama and to allow people to gaslight is why it's so enticing, why it draws many of us humans in like a moth to a fire. Today, rather than just talking about the cults and getting educated on cults and cult patterns, that's not a conversation that we want to stay in continuously. So, in order to balance it out, let's perhaps look at some possible solutions. And a lot of that folks can find here on YouTube. Now, this is not with the intention of someone trading off one cult for yet another cult, another personality, or another religion. The the idea here or another possible option is to actually be objective and educate ourselves about the patterns. Why? Because manipulators, con men, pimps, religious leaders are very schooled in human psychology and trauma and understand what is it that people are searching for, even grown adults with degrees, right? So we're going to be looking at some solutions, and there are actually some things that folks can explore at your leisure on your own time that are right here on YouTube. There is actually some really helpful, objective, useful information and understanding patterns, not only of cults, but understanding the patterns of our own trauma so that we can perhaps have access, right, to understanding how to unpack it and what to do with it. So, just a few key points. I want to say, first of all, that if you check the community section, I'll be sharing from time to time some resources that can be helpful for folks to take a look at individually, or if you have children, or maybe with your friends, just some practical advice, right? The idea here is to also cultivate our discernment and to distinguish between merely what is triggering emotions or um, understand the actual physiology of the brain and dopamine and the physical responses of trauma inside the body, understanding how it's affecting us as children and into adulthood, rather than picking up more quote unquote knowledge, more information, more rhetoric that is so open to just anyone's interpretation, right? So I'll be posting some educational clips here in the community section on this page. So you'll find the playlist so that you can educate yourself on cults, black, white, every culture, every economic demographic. And I'll also start to post some credible, although we want to look at everything with a discerning eye. Some folks that have studied not only cults, but human psychology. Again, pimps, predators, con artists, are very, very keen and very knowledgeable of human trauma and how to elicit emotions and to drive behaviors. So today, what you're going to find in the community section is a piece. It's not very long, by Lisa Feldman Barrett, and it's called "You Aren't at the Mercy of Your Emotions." So emotions are one of the things, the main things that after you're audited by a con artist or a pimp or predator or con man, you're audited as you're sharing with this father figure and you're pouring out your heart for things, that you have had shut down or you haven't made yourself vulnerable. As you're pouring out this very vulnerable information to this person, you may not realize that you're being audited and that this information will be flipped on you. So, understanding how your emotions work and how it is triggering physiological responses in your body as well as unpacking some of the myths around how the emotions are triggered and actually understanding it. The physiological components in your body can be really, really helpful. What the con artist understands very keenly is that a lot of our trauma and the anxiety and the guilt and the shame over past experiences can often paralyze. It has the potential to paralyze us, and it has nothing to do with logic. This part of our mental capacity, it shuts down. It's literally paralyzed due to trauma and our responses to it, the meaning that we have made of it. This is affected by our culture, how we were raised. So, again, in unpacking it, taking it perhaps out of our heads, putting it on paper, or listening to more information about it can help us get a healthy, objective distance from it so that we have a better chance of seeing the right way or an effective way, more than right, to resolve it. Right? I encourage you as you get more educated to rewrite your own narrative. This is really, really important if you're going to look up therapists and look at way cult leaders operate, and look at deprogramming, what that looks like. And then as you get to another point, understanding the trauma that has been passed down to us from society and our parents, rather than just getting caught up in the story, understanding the effect that it has on us, the long-standing effect. So when you look at all these different channels and you look at their advice, it is really it can be really important to understand, even with all the best advice, right? You are responsible, and it will be up to you to rewrite your own narrative. When we allow others to write our narrative or put even these helpful personalities on a pedestal, we can have a tendency to fall into the same pattern again, right? Of escapism, and also spiritual or astrological bypasses, and fall again into more quote unquote knowledge and rhetoric, and still not having any kind of practical application, which can keep us still looping and inevitably falling into the same pattern, even if we don't call it a cult anymore, right? If we don't understand how to unpack, put into perspective what we've been through so we can understand how to proceed, what is happening within us, what is happening within our brains with all the trauma that we've been exposed to, right? So it's very, very important that you rewrite your narrative rather than have someone do it for you. So we're going to keep this short this evening. The previous post was Pulpit Gangster. You can find that in the community section. That should be an eye opener for us to even understand that many of our churches, and this is based on a true story, today it's a phenomenon, are operating like cults. So that is posted in the community section, as well as the TED Talk by Lisa Feldman Barrett. You aren't at the mercy of your emotions. Do comprehend that it's our emotions mainly that are being manipulated by con artists, pimps, and predators. So take a look at that. Feel free to comment respectfully in the comment section. If we have a respectful dialogue, hopefully everyone can come away with a bit more of a discerning eye. All right, create a great evening for yourself and keep your thinking caps on and your eyes open.